Hello, welcome to the 41st edition of Drive-Thru Review. Today I'm going to talk about Ninjato. I picked this up at Gen Con 2011. It's by Z-Man Games by Adam West and Dan Schnacky. I think that's how you say it. It's a, let me try to categorize this. It's a worker placement game. Well, no, it's not. It kind of is like that, but it's kind of not really, because you're not really blocking players with a piece, so to speak. But it's sort of like what your decisions are that you sort of will use to block them, not just, you know, like a physical placement. It'd be a lot clearer once I explain the game. It's got really good artwork. It's got a crazy theme. It's got ninjas. It's sort of a Euro-style ninja game. I don't think there's ever been one of these. I know that AEG is coming out with a ninja game. I don't know anything about that game, but so I think this is like one of the first ninja games. So that's kind of cool all by itself already. Anyway, let me show you how this game works, and then I'll come back and share my thoughts. Alright, so how do you play Ninjato? Well, let me just give you a real succinct overview of what you're going to do. Basically, you're going to place one of your throwing stars, your shuriken. These are sort of like your workers. You're going to place these around the board. You're going to also be playing cards, numbered 1 through 5, in the hopes of collecting some treasure, stealing treasure, from various houses on the board to turn in for points during the game, and hopefully selecting some cards for scoring at the end of the game as well. That's real simple what you're going to be doing. Now you can see this board, it might look a little bit busy, and it does. It looks really cool though. You know, you've got these different palaces that these different clans currently control. You're basically going to be going in there and trying to steal their treasure to bribe envoys from the same clans that you're stealing from, in a sense. So you're trying to gain influence with clans that are powerful on the board to score more points and collect some of these end game scoring cards on this side. So it's a lot of backstabbery and very ninja-like activities that happen here. So let me just kind of break down each of the areas on the board and kind of give you a little bit of what you do. Okay, one of the things you're going to be doing most often is going into these palaces here and trying to steal some of these treasure tokens at the top here. Now, what you can see is you've got a guard at the palace, and the game starts with basically what's called a sentry guard. And each palace has one of these face up. They start with 3 treasure tokens of various things. You can see you've got a fan there, a scroll, and this little vase worth a various number of points. And currently this palace is controlled by the green clan, and it's worth 6 points to whoever may control the majority of green envoys during the scoring round. So what you're going to do here is go in here, let's say you're the red player, and you're going to place your shuriken either here or here. And this tells you how you're going to try to defeat this guard to capture the treasure. Now if you put the shuriken on this side, you're going to be going in a sense of strength, a very brute force attack. If you go on this side, you're going to be trying to stealth inside. So let's say I went in and tried to stealth. What I'm trying to do now is every player starts the game off with 4 cards, okay? You got 1 through 5. The 3s here are special because you can play them as a 3, but you can play them as what's called a kicker with another card. So if I played this 3 here with the 2, I can add plus or minus 1 to it. So the 2 could become a 3 or the 2 could become a 1 in this case. So if you go in here as a stealth, you're trying to just play lower than the guard's skill here. So in this case I'm trying to play lower. So you've got to play exactly lower, not equal to or lower. So I could play this 2 or 3. I could also play this 5 with a 3 to subtract it. So let's say I just played the 2. I discard that, and then I take the lowest value treasure and put that on my shuriken. Now since this is the sentry guard, the first guard that's shown, he stays there. Now I've got a decision to make. Do I want to keep going, kind of push my luck a little bit, or do I want to leave? If I leave, I take what I've got on my shuriken, and then I'll go dig through this bag of treasure here, and I'll add 1 treasure to the house. Let's say I want to keep going. So I'm going to draw from a deck of these guard cards. Okay, now there's 2 decks. These are the normal guards here, and these are the elite guards, and I'll talk about the elite guards in just a second. So let's say I drew a guard there, now it comes up he's a 4. Okay, well I can beat that 4. I've got a 3, so I'll play that one. Then I'll add another treasure to my shuriken. I've just got one more to go now to clear the house. So when I defeat any other guards except for that first sentry guard, I just go ahead and discard them. Let's say for argument's sake I draw another guard and I want to go for this, and I take that last treasure. Now I've cleared the house. I go ahead and discard all the guards, even that first sentry guard. And then now I can switch the faction of the clan that's displayed here. I've got to just choose a different color. So I could just go dig through the box, and let's say I wanted red to be, have a little bit more influence on the board. I'd knock the green out, throw the red 8 in, so that'll be worth 8 points when we score for red. And then that'll be it. Now let's say that I had chosen to go on, and then I flipped up a 1 here. Well, I can't beat that 1 with the hand that I had. So I'm going to fail. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have to discard all but one of the treasures on my shuriken. So I'm going to say, oh, I'll keep the scroll, and then discard this. And then I go back in, and then I have to go through the bag again, add another treasure for the next player. So I'll take this off, I'll keep it. And now it's feasible for, let's say, the silver player to come in, and he can do the same thing. He just places his on top of mine, and he can go in. Maybe he's set up now. He knows, okay, well, there's a 1 there, so he's got the cards he needs to, to take this out. Or maybe he can come in on this side and he'll do a strength attack, which would probably be a little bit better in this case. But so the players can actually go where you've already been and go exactly where you've been. I could even come back in again later on top of this and go in again if I had set myself up a little bit better, or somebody else had cleared some guards, that kind of thing. So the information's all here on the board for you to make your decisions with, and it's not necessarily like a blocking mechanism where I go in and block and now you can't go to this house, but it's like, okay, I did this much work, now you can come in and kind of piggyback off my work even though I may not want you to. So that's a pretty cool little kind of ninja aspect there. And let's talk about elite guards real quick. So if I was in here fighting and then I decided to keep going and I flipped up this alarm guard, so you can see on these cards here, they're going to trigger an alarm. So he's going to trigger an alarm. When that happens, I go back in the bag, I draw a new token, and I put it there. And then I take the highest number plain sight token, and I'm going to flip it up to its red side. You can see that there. So now let's say I defeat this guard, I take this one. And so instead of drawing from the regular guard pack, I'm going to draw from the elite guard pack. Because now I'm fighting for a red token. Whenever you're fighting for a red token, you've got to draw from the elite guards. So I'm going to flip this up here. So you can see these elite guards are a little tougher than, there's 2 kinds of elite guards here. And this is one example. You can see that if you fight it with strength, you've got to go higher than a 6. Well, there's not even a 6 in the deck. It goes 1 through 5. So you've got to try to modify that somehow. And then the same with the stealth. If you're going stealth, you've got to be below 0. The nice thing is if you defeat an elite guard, you actually keep these guards here, and he'll give you 2 points at the end of the game. Now here's the other type of elite guard. That first one I showed you is just a really strong guard. This one is actually 2 separate guards. You've got to defeat them both. And so it's basically you've got to beat this guy with a 1 with their strength or stealth, and 3 depending on where you're at with strength or stealth. So if this guy was here, I got to play a card lower than a 3 and a card lower than a 1, which isn't too great. But if I was over here, this would be a pretty easy guard to defeat. I had the number of cards in my hand to defeat him, and you can see this guy will give you 2 points there. So that's where you're going to spend a lot of your time, at these houses, playing cards, getting some treasure, trying to change the faction color and the number of points that this is worth on the board. So everything kind of revolves around this. So let's look at why why these treasures are so special. So one of the main things you're going to do with these treasures is actually bribe some of these envoys. And you can see here we've got 3 red envoys and then a green envoy. So the way that you bribe them is they accept sets of treasure. So this guy, for example, he'll accept 1 to 4 of any of these. Now they've all got to be the same kind, so I've got to turn in like 1 vase or 4 vases. And you turn these in and you get the points displayed on the token itself. So if I turn in 4 of these vases, I'd get 16 points. If I turn in 1, I just get 4. In either case here, I'm going to get this card. And basically what this gives me when we do a scoring round, which I'll go over a little bit later, is I've got 1 influence over green. So real quickly, this is going to let me score points for any green controlled houses on the board. So you can see you've got your blue and your red, and I showed you green earlier. So you're going to be trying to collect these and have more green than anybody else, and while also trying to make sure that green is you know, spoken for on the board here. So that's kind of the main way that you'll spend those tokens, those treasures that you're trying to steal, to then turn back in and then bribe maybe the people you stole from, you know, or their enemies, and then you're kind of playing with their heads a little bit, which is really cool. And again, you'll go here, you'll put a shuriken here to take that action, and then you'll be able to turn in any amount of treasure that is required by the cards here. So let's just work our way around the board a little bit. We talked about the center area where you steal treasure, what you typically will do with the treasure, and let's talk about some of the other actions now. So this area here is called the Sensei, and these are actually nice little thick cardboard cards that you use to give your ninjas some extracurricular skills here. So you basically deal up as many as there are players, so this is for a 4-player game. And then you've got a stack of sort of your regular skills, and then you've got just a small stack of these disguise skills you can see with the little white mask on there. Now these don't start coming out until the end of the game. I'll talk about those when we talk about scoring rounds. But basically what you're going to do here is when you place your shuriken here, you're going to have to discard a card of the exact number, and then you'll acquire this skill. Now if it's got a question mark, you can discard any card you want. However, you can see on the back of these, as well as on the corners up here, you've got a snake, a crane, and a tiger. And if you already have a skill of a crane, if you come back here again later, you don't have to discard a card to get another crane. So once you have a crane, you can get another crane just by placing your shuriken. And the same with the snake and the tiger. If you have a snake skill already, you just come back and it's a little bit more easy to upgrade your skills. Now I won't get too into these skills, they're pretty obvious. But so like this skill, for example, when you play a card, you can turn this and flip this over to show that it's used, and you'll add +2 to the card. So if you remember, we saw that 6 earlier. This is a way to get that. Or if I play a card, I can just change its value right to a 0, or change it from 2 to a 4. Stuff like that. There's a lot of manipulation here, and these are very handy to have. Think of them as like sort of like your tools in Stone Age, or your workers in other dice games. The next area is this dojo here. So when you place your shuriken here, you can take cards to refill your hand. And this works in a very kind of interesting way. You might say, oh, it's just like Ticket to Ride. Well, no, it's not. If you have 1 card or less in your hand, you basically draw up to 4. You can draw from the face-up cards or the face-down deck. But when you take a card, you don't immediately replace it to see, you know, what's there. You've got to take all the cards right as you're taking your action before you reveal any more cards. So if I was out of cards, I was going to take 4 cards. I may take a 1, a 1. I don't really want the 5 because maybe I'm going low. And then so I just have to take the next 2 cards off the top of the deck. And not too bad, right? 1, 1, 2, and 5. Not too wishy-washy there. And then after you're done, you refill the display here. The other little aspect to this spot is this is where you change the turn order in the game. So if I placed here, let's say silver would come here, and then black would come after me, and guess what? I wanted to get some more cards. That's what I love about this game, these stacking ninja stars. So basically, this is now the turn order. So you're going to rearrange the turn order track, basically red, black, silver, and then this last red is ignored, and you just take the top of whatever color is there. So this would have rearranged the turn order in this fashion. That's kind of an interesting aspect of the game too. So here is the last type of action you can take. This is the rumor area of the board, the pavilion, and you put a shuriken here, and then you'll turn in treasures just like before, and you'll get your points for turning in the treasures. But these are only scored at the end of the game. And basically, let's look at the example here. Now, if I get these 2 cards here, this is basically telling me it's going to multiply the number of envoy cards, because these cards here, they've got the green back. So basically, I'm going to get 1. If I only had 1 of these, you can see I've got the 1 times multiplier. I'm only going to get 1 point per card. Now, if I had 2 of these cards, I'm going to get 2 points per envoy. And if I had 3 cards, then I'd get 4 points per envoy. And these are just for the various things in the game. Like this one will give me a multiplier based on how many skills I've collected. This is a dishonorable opponents card, and has got its own multiplier. There's multipliers for the number of elite guards you've killed, and a couple other things. So let's talk about now how you're going to score. There's going to be 3 scoring rounds, and then a final scoring involving these cards at the end of the game. So you can see here you've got a turn order track, not a turn order track, but a round counter. And you're going to play 7 rounds. So you're going to have 3 scoring rounds. You can see that denoted by the different faction colors marked here, here, and here. And then after that last round, you're going to have a final scoring. So you can see they're actually scored in a different order per each round. So in the first round, green's red, and then blue is going to score, and then red, blue, and green, and then blue, green, and red. And I'll explain it, but I think it'll become more apparent as you play the game and you get into a little bit of the manipulation that you can do during the scoring round here. So we're going to score the first and second place in each of these. And what I mean by that is whoever has the most green, in this case, is going to get the first opportunity to score. And then whoever has the most red envoys, and then again with the most blue envoys. So when you score, you have 2 choices if you're the first player in that color. So the first green guy is going to score the amount of points shown by all of these face-up control markers that may be on the board. So if this was the only green face-up marker, the guy would score 6 points. Now he has a choice of scoring these face-up points or taking one of these rumor cards for free. Doesn't have to pay for it, he just takes it. So then the first place in red will get the same choice. He'll score any of these face-up red or take a free rumor card. Then the first place blue. Then the second place green will have to choose the opposite. So if the first place green had chosen to score the points, the second place green would be forced to take one of the rumor cards. There may be one that they don't want. They may be even out of them by that time. Or if the first place of green had chosen to take the rumor cards, because there were no green points on the board, the second place green would basically get 0 points. And then second place red, and then second place blue. So there's a lot of manipulation. You try to set yourself up to score really big points now on the scoring rounds, or if they're not so hot, you can go take one of the rumor cards for scoring at the end of the game. And that's a really cool aspect. And then you basically score 3 times. And then after the third scoring round, you basically take all of your multiplier cards from the pavilion here, and these are purple backed. And then you multiply all those up, and then you just move your point up. Whoever has the most at the end of the game wins. Now, one other thing to keep in mind when you're scoring these cards for influence. Let's say this is player 1 and player 2's collection of blue cards. So in this case, let's say we were scoring round 3 there. In this case, player 1 over here on the left is going to win. He's going to break the tie, even though they both have 2, because he's got an older clan member. So the oldest one will break the tie. If player 2 here had one of the special disguise skill tiles, and that's one of these here, he could choose before you start scoring. He has to announce, okay, I'm going to use this to flip over, and I'm going to apply 1 extra influence for blue. So if you've got a blue here with a disguise tile, you can take one of these, flip it over, and then you basically have sort of a third blue guy that's a fake one that's in disguise. So he would then beat player 1 in that case. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the overview. It's a good game, I like it. It feels like a Euro, it feels like it might be, it's another same old deal, but it's really not once you play it. It's like I said, it's worker placement, but it's not so much about, I block you, you can't do this turn. It's more like, I went in there and I did some stuff and I made this, so now, okay, if maybe you don't want to go in there anymore because of what I did, or maybe now you want to go do that action, but your plans have changed a little bit. And a lot of comparisons to Stone Age I've seen, I think those are probably pretty accurate. For some reason it feels a little heavier to me, and I'm not sure why, but not a lot heavier, but it's kind of like Stone Age with cards instead of dice. But when I say something like that, I feel like I'm doing the game a little bit of a disservice. But I really like Stone Age. I really like this game too. I haven't played this obviously nearly as much as I played Stone Age, which I played quite a bit. I can see this one hanging out though and sticking around, especially just the theme is really good. You know, and the actions really go with the theme. You know, the whole thing of, you know, a ninja is not going to go in there and block you from taking an action. He's going to go in there, he's going to take the treasure that you thought you were going to get, or he's going to bribe, you know, the envoy that you thought you were going to bribe, but he bribed it out from underneath you. And so that's, you know, the theme really fits with those mechanics. And, you know, if a game does that for me, you know, I'm like, okay, this is a good game. Especially if I like the theme. So I really like that, where the mechanics and the theme just are really in sync. And I think, you know, it's well done. And like I said, there's not a lot of ninja games out there on the market. So this is a Ninja Euro. So, you know, I like it. Okay. Last thing I'd say is I would get these little handouts here that are on the Geek by Universal Head. It's a one file. It's by Universal Head, and it's really good. The game seems a lot, you know, overwhelming at first, but if you have these printed out, you go through the first game real easy, and then you've got the game. It's not that complex, really. So anyway, thanks.